Hello and welcome back for another season of Let's Talk. We were on a nice break, but spring sports are back in action, and so am I. Thanks for joining me as always. I'm your host, Chad Landers. Now, we've got some interesting guests on the show today, some great topics to touch on as well. But first, here's what's on my mind. Spring sports season certainly hasn't gotten off to a great start. We've even had snow laying on the field as spring games were supposed to be kicking off. So while we wait for things to heat up a bit, let's look back at a very good crop of winter sports athletes of the week. In total, we had 10 local athletes bring home the honors this winter. The most recent, a pair of swimmers, Warwick's Joe Mole and Cocalico's Zach Shirk, both of whom brought home individual state medals, ranking them amongst the state's elite competitors. Right before those two guys, we featured a former high school athlete, Warwick grad Riley Durr, who had a record-setting season for Kutztown women's basketball. She now holds their all-time freshman scoring record. Garden Spot's Jordan Shoebridge earned Athlete of the Week honors when he collected his 1,000th point for the boys basketball squad. He also helped lead his team into the state playoffs for the first time since 2001. Zach McGillen caught fire for the Ephrata boys basketball team in early February as the Mounts were running through the LL League tournament. McGillen had a career night, scoring 30 points and knocking down 8 three-pointers in that game. Manheim Central's Will Betancourt won back-to-back LL wrestling titles, claiming the 113-pound crown this year. And then, in the district team tournament for the Barons, he pinned 2 of his opponents and picked up a 3rd victory in their matches in the AAA bracket. Back to the hardcourt now, Ephrata's Brad DeBella dropping a career-high 26 points against a bitter rival Cocalico in a game that the Mounts needed for playoff seeding. And speaking of the Mounts, Candace Liebel led her girls basketball team on a 3-game winning streak in late January, also hitting the game-winning shot against Solenko on that run. And then there's Aiden Trynoski of Cocalico boys basketball, who also dropped career highs to earn his Athlete of the Week honors. Trynoski used 32 points to beat section rival Etam. And finally, Cade Zemer claiming the 120-pound title for Manheim Central Wrestling in their very own holiday tournament. That win helped the entire Barons squad win their own tournament for the first time since 1970, the year it was created. So, congrats to all our athletes of the week, and stay tuned in the spring to see who earns the honor. All right, let's move on to that spring season. My first guest has been on the bench for Ephrata for over 2 decades, and he's led his ball club to many, many titles, section titles, league titles, and just recently, the District 3 titles. Of course, I'm talking about legendary Ephrata baseball coach Adrian Shelley. Had a lot to say in our conversation about the upcoming season. You can hear it all right after the break. Welcome back to Let's Talk. We have kicked off our spring season here on the show, and our first guest back here is Coach Adrian Shelley for Ephrata baseball. Thanks for giving us a couple of minutes, and as the season really approaches here soon.
Right.
Appreciate it.
No problem.
The first question I have for you, and I know a lot of people are probably thinking this, as we speak right now, there is several inches of snow on War Memorial Field, on everyone's field.
Right.
Is this one of the weirder springs that you've had? I know it's been frustrating for us to cover spring sports, but as a coach, how do you feel about kind of what has happened over the past few weeks of the spring preseason?
Yeah, this kind of jogged my memory back to, I think, 2003. We had a similar situation, but, that's 15 years ago. A lot has changed since then. I remember that season. It was a lot more frustrating. I think, given the fact that we can come into our facility, it's not. We can still get a lot accomplished. It's been a little strange, but at the same point, you learn that the weather is not in our control. So, given that, if we can't write that script, it's not something that we can focus too much energy on. We just got to adapt.
Here's a question for you now. The excitement level, now that spring season is really on the verge of starting, you guys might get pushed back, as will most everybody, a couple days, and you guys are a little bit smarter. You schedule your games kind of start more in April, which I think is pretty smart in Pennsylvania. But what's the excitement level? How are you feeling as we are, just days away from this season kicking off?
Right. We would have opened up yesterday. Would we have been ready? I think so, but this certainly gives us a little bit more time to prepare. I'd always like more time. So, you know, there's things that we need to polish. League play starts the beginning of April, and you know, we look at the 20-game schedule as every single game matters. So, you know, I don't look at these non-league games as something that we just want to try to get out of the way in preparation for leagues. All of these count toward our power rankings and whether or not we make districts or not. So, you know, we're just trying to prepare, you know, each opponent at a time, one game at a time.
I would have to think the excitement level is pretty high for this season. Last year, I think it was maybe 2 seniors that you had. This year, was talking with your coaching staff, a lot more than that, almost 10, and I feel a pretty experienced upper class. What would you say kind of about your team's makeup and the strengths of your squad this year that you have?
Well, I think the biggest thing is what you just touched on, that they have a year's experience under their belt. They had most of them were contributors on the state legion, the state championship squad, so they're battle tested, which is important.
Yeah.
They understand the rigor of the 20-game season. You know, we've added some depth to our pitching staff. So from that standpoint, we're excited, but, you know, it's baseball, so anything can happen. You know, you don't expect to win every game. We just, you know, we're not really concerned about the results as much as we're concerned about, you know, having a daily process that keeps us competitive. So we just, you know, we're expecting to have to grind every game out, and so it's a pitch-by-pitch focus.
And you do kind of excel at that. Is that kind of something that you know, enjoy? It seems like you're kind of one of the coaches in the league that enjoys the grind, enjoys the little details. We've always talked about on the broadcast, Shelly ball. Right. It's kind of our nickname for it. I don't know how they refer to it here in the program, but the small things, the bunting, the steals, the right. defensive stuff. I don't know. But is that something that, you know, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, the loose change, we call that's what we
is that
refer
what you
to
it?
it as the loose change. Yes, you know, reaching into the cushions for the pennies. Really what it boils down to is we don't like to assign value to any of these things. We don't like to call it small ball or small details. What we refer to all of these things are when they come up in a game, they could be paramount to the outcome. So if you know, prescribe value to it as being minor or, you know, these little things, you know, when they happen and you're not prepared for them, it can cost you. So, you know, we do take pride in that. Our players have learned to embrace that. So, you know, that's something that is going to keep us competitive as long as we maintain a focus and an attention toward those details.
Now, you guys put it all together 2 years ago, won that district title that had been elusive for so many years. How many years have you been the head coach here?
This is 21.
21, okay, so out of 21, it was that 1 year that you did it, and that was a really senior heavy team, had a lot of just solid guys at all positions. Sure. Do you feel like this is a team that is more equivalent to that squad and just, you know, is getting back to that district championship feeling, that game, you know, a major goal this season?
I would say this. If we stick with our processes, you know, I think that the teams that are the most resilient end up being rewarded in the end. You can't fast forward and say, let's plan to make leagues, let's plan to make districts, and forget about the first 20 games. Okay. You know, what I was saying before about the non-league games matter. So, you know, opening day matters. All of this, that's why, you know, we do so much planning in the off season, and, you know, we have a lengthy off season program in preparation for this full grind. You know, do I think we have the personnel to get back to that? No, I think it all depends how well they can maintain the focus on the process and not get caught up with trying to, you know, chase another banner.
Well, you have plenty of them, so obviously it's something that your program likes to shoot for, and I'm sure it's a goal for a lot of those guys to get section, league, district, any form of all three of those or one of those. Last question for you. you always seem to have a message for these guys. What would you say is kind of what you're harping on this year so that you guys can be competitive and successful? What is that kind of message to the team?
Yeah, we have a lot of messages going on right now. Starting with trusting yourself. You have to trust yourself before you can start really trusting others. But then once you trust yourself, you can start trusting your teammates, trusting your coaches. We're talking about everything from trying to eliminate the fear of failure. That cliche that baseball is all about failure is very much true. So how do you get around that? You have to meet it head on, and you have to kind of embrace it for what it is as a chance to be better the second time around. So one of the things that we're talking about right now is just having fun. Let's have fun playing the game. Let's have fun during this time together. The reason we're here is because of baseball. Baseball's brought us together. What can we learn from that experience? What can we learn from the game, and what can we learn from each other? So that's where we're at right now.
Great. It's a good position to be in, and you guys still have some time to work some things out, so I know you're happy about that. But I really appreciate you coming on,
absolutely,
chatting with us.
Always a pleasure.
We will see you guys on the channel at some point here early in the season. But for now, we're going to step aside, take a break. We will be back here on Let's Talk. Stick with us. We've got a lot more conversations coming up. And welcome back to Let's Talk. We are here at the Giants Center as we wrap up the winter sports season. Girls basketball getting the spotlight today, Jeff, and of course had to bring you on because you are LL girls basketball.
Well, hey, thank you very much. Yeah, awesome. Lancaster Catholic wins it all. And I kind of said like 2 months ago, I'll take Lancaster Catholic and you can have everybody else, and I'll see you in March at the Giants Center. And wow, they won it. So impressive.
Yeah, end of March here, and again, we are wrapping up the winter sports season. We were all here today watching Lancaster Catholic play. It was two District 3 teams, Lancaster Catholic, Berks Catholic. What did you think of the way the game went today, and were you impressed with how the Crusaders played?
Oh, definitely, absolutely. I thought they took Berks Catholic's best punch, like second quarter. Early on, it was a little ragged back and forth. Nobody was making shots, and it was like, okay, here we go. But that happens here at the Giants Center. Nobody comes in here and shoots 10 for 10. So I thought Lancaster Catholic kind of weathered the punch, took Berks' best punch early second quarter. Berks actually took a lead. They were up 11-10. Duncan hit that crazy half-court shot, which gave them a lot of momentum. That was pretty crazy. But I thought once Lancaster Catholic got settled in and did its thing, it did its thing. They played defense. They really harassed Gaffney, the point guard, took the ball out of her hands, made somebody else set up the offense, really did a good job face guarding Terrell, the 6-foot kid underneath, muscled her up a little bit. She did not shoot well from the field at all. And honestly, in crunch time, who are they going to turn to? Kiki Jefferson, who just did not let them lose all season. Not that they had a lot of gut check, fourth quarter kind of games, but any time that they've been in any kind of trouble, Kiki Jefferson knows when to push the right button, maybe go coast to coast, maybe take the shot instead of dish. And she was great in the second half, and she had 24 points, and she was just a monster here in the state final. So yeah, loved the way they played, did what they do. Forced turnovers, got the up-tempo game going, got Berks Catholic out of its rhythm and what they do best, and really just iced it and kind of blew them out in the fourth quarter.
Got to give a little bit of credit to Lancaster Catholic for beating Berks Catholic 3 times this year, right?
Yeah, that's tough to do. That's tough to do. I'm glad they scheduled them non-league. That's a really good non-league game in District 3.
Awesome.
That's a great non-league game. Beat them in Lancaster by 11 or 12 in January. The District 3 final here at the Giants Center was fantastic 3 weeks ago. Berks Catholic led into the fourth quarter, played great. Terrell was making shots. Gaffney was doing her thing, but in the fourth quarter, they went lockdown defense. Jefferson took over, and Lauren Mills, their lone senior, which is really frightening.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
She had 2 huge buckets to help push the lead up mid-fourth. So, yeah, playing for a third time is tricky. Coach Detz told me that the other night when I was working on preview stuff. He said, hey, this isn't easy. They're really good, and they made us work both times. So we're going to have to tweak and do what we do, but throw some wrinkles at them here today, and they did.
Pretty cool that 2 District 3 teams were in the finals here for 4A girls. Just want to run through these accomplishments for Lancaster Catholic.
Sure.
I mean, obviously you've seen them all season long, cream of the crop in the LL, and obviously let's read through it here. Section 3 champs, undefeated. LL League champs, obviously they were undefeated. District 3 champs, and now state champs.
Yep.
What is it about this team that they're able to be elite when they need to be,
couple of things. First of all, poise, and Coach Detz always says that it could have been in December or February or March. Very poised. They want to win. They want to practice every day. They unsolicitedly want to get better every day at practice. They want to learn new X's and O's. They want to be prepared for who's next. So just a very determined bunch, number one. Secondly, very focused, very determined off the floor. Great group of kids, and I know that's very cliche, but Lauren Mills is like the big sister, the only senior, and just kind of keeps everybody together. And they did not want to lose anything. They didn't want to lose a league game. They didn't want to lose in districts, and they sure as heck didn't want to lose here.
Right.
Just, I love their makeup and their chemistry, and just very team-oriented. Cliche, sorry, Chad, but extremely determined and focused and poised on a daily basis.
And now we have to talk about the best player on the court, and usually the best player on the court in any of these games, Kiki Jefferson, the junior.
Yeah.
You have seen a lot of games this year for girls basketball. You've credited yourself with being very well read on girls basketball across the state. You watched a lot of games here at the Giant Center. Is she the best player in the state, or is she top 5?
Oh, definitely top 5. Definitely top 5. And if she's not 4A Player of the Year, then my colleagues aren't paying attention. Come on, guys.
I hear you.
Get the vote out.
But there is 5A and 6A too.
Oh, absolutely. And she's amazing. If nothing else, she's the best junior in the state.
Okay, fair enough.
She's just superb. I mean, tried out for the U.S. Olympic under-17 national team last summer and was a finalist for that. 12 or 13 scholarship offers already as a junior, 1,800 plus points as a junior, and now a state title, 2-time All-State kid, and you saw it here today. She takes over when the game's on the line. She got a defensive rebound, goes coast to coast, dribbles in between 3 kids, and gets an and one. I mean, she's an unbelievable talent. Unbelievable talent.
Yeah, and I don't want to use a cliche that applies to men, but she's basically a man amongst boys. You know, I mean, it's the wrong cliche, but you know what I'm saying. She towers over everybody.
Yes.
And so, you know, just real quick, next year, as we said, they only lose Lauren Mills.
That's it.
How scary is that? And obviously, are you anticipating them doing something like this again?
I would not be surprised at all if they're here again next year with a 0 in the loss column. I really wouldn't. And I'm not trying to put any pressure on a bunch of teenage girls, but they should be phenomenal. Hey, Mills is great.
No, I agree.
Mills is fantastic. But they could go big and start like a Cassie Paris or a Zanaya Banks. They could go small and start a Cannon or a Turner. And all 4 of those kids are awesome, and they'd probably be starting at any other school around, but they're bench kids for Catholic. They will be fantastic. They'll be preseason number 1 and the team to beat, no doubt.
All right, Jeff, well, that wraps up girls basketball coverage for you. How are you feeling?
I'm a little tired. I guess I'm ready for volleyball, but what a basketball season.
Volleyball started, by the way, already.
Yeah, it did start already. I'm sorry, guys. But, yeah, great season for girls hoops.
Awesome. Appreciate you coming on.
Thank
you so much. Take a tad bit of a rest, and then it's on to the spring sports. And that's going to wrap it up here at the Giant Center for us. We'll step aside, take a break. When we come back, we will wrap up the show here on Let's Talk, so stay with us. We'll be right back. And welcome back to Let's Talk. This is our final segment, and while the beginning of the sports season has been frustrating at times, weather postponements causing an issue, we are excited to cover local sports live right here on BRC 11. We've got a full spring broadcast schedule up on our website right now, brctv11.com. Just click on the Spring Sports tab on the left side of your screen. It's going to be a busy month of April for us, and as we have games on the channel almost every single night, it'll be from baseball to softball, lacrosse, and even boys volleyball. And don't forget, we also have U.S. women's field hockey coverage coming up for you the week of April 9th to the 13th. Again, check it all out on our website, and then tune into BRC 11 channel 613 in HD for all of our great spring sports coverage. Also, if you want a heads up on what to expect from some of our local teams, you can head online to our blog, news11sports.tv, and check out all our spring sports previews that we have posted for you right there. Thanks again for following all of our local sports coverage, and enjoy it. That just about wraps up our show for today. If you do have any ideas for future interviewees or stories, please tweet us at News11Sports. But for now, that'll do it for this brand new episode of Let's Talk. I will have plenty more episodes of Let's Talk throughout the spring, so stay tuned for all of that. But as always, thanks to all of you for tuning in today. I'm your host, Chad Landers, and I'm sure we'll have more to talk about next time.